The West is supporting Israel because Israel has identified with the Western world. The Middle East is largely an area where there are Arabs and Muslims, and Western interests are there in UAE, in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in Jordan, in Egypt, a number of countries. But the number one ally of the West, the number one ally of the United States is Israel. The West is supporting Israel because Israel has identified with the Western world, and the Western countries are dependent on Israel for the security and stability of the Middle East. So the US, the Western nations, will continue to support Israel. But most recently, it has become very difficult for the Western countries to steadfastly support Israel because of the civilian fatalities and casualties among the Palestinians in Israeli operations. So Israel is under very significant pressure, even by its allies, most notably from Canada and Europe, and from the American people. So I believe that Israel will sooner or later take that into account and will be more targeted, more precise in dismantling Hamas. But Hamas itself is using civilians as a barrier to protect themselves. They are using civilians as hostages. They are hiding in schools, hiding in hospitals and in other locations and fighting. But this is nothing unusual. All terrorist groups use civilians as shield to mount their attacks. I think that it is important for those who are critics of Israel to look at what Hamas is doing, because what Hamas did is a brazen act of terrorism. No one can dispute that, despite what happened between Hamas and Israel in the past. Second is, of course, Hamas taking those hostages. And I think that the Western countries will continue to support Israel as long as Hamas doesn't surrender. Hamas as a terrorist group will never be tolerated by the Western world. I think that also many Arab countries and Muslim countries don't want Hamas to exist as an entity. They also want Hamas to be eliminated. Discreetly, the Arab world and the Muslim world has shared very significant information and intelligence with Israel, even after October 7, to dismantle Hamas, because the Muslim world do not want a group like Al-Qaeda or a group like ISIS or a group like Hamas to exist.